So, Stickergate. About 3 years ago in 2020, stickers that looked like a Soviet symbol, okay, on, the on the sticker, and they started popping up all over Moscow, Idaho, okay? It said Soviet Moscow, enforced because we care, that has like the hammer and the sickle, like, Soviet Union, Russia.
Like Moscow.
Yep, like Moscow. They started popping up over town,
making fun of the cops.
On poles, and yeah,
that's what I was.
It was about the cops and the local government.
Like
it was actually less about the police force than you think. But yeah, the cops are involved in that, for sure. They started popping up.
Communist Idaho.
Yep, exactly. Well, it was more about the thinned skinness, as Doug Wilson would describe it, of the police force and, basically the justice system in Moscow. So what happened here? So I don't know the exact date of all of this, because in every website that I pulled information from, they didn't really put an exact date of when this happened. And even when I saw interviews with Doug Wilson, he didn't say an exact date of when these things happened. All I'm going off of is a news report that was posted September 24th, 2020, about this whole situation. They were reporting on it as it happened. And this is, okay, so we're going to start at the very beginning. So this all happened. Stickergate happened because of a church, Doug Wilson's church, in Moscow, not being happy with the mask mandates.
Okay.
During the pandemic. So they protested it. And they set up what Doug Wilson describes as a psalm sing.
Okay.
And it was a protest towards the mask mandates at City Hall. Prior to them doing it, the city put out dots, like all over like the lot in front of City Hall, that everybody had to stand on to stay 6 feet apart and wear their mask. Now, Doug Wilson, who is the minister of the church, said that, the reason they weren't happy with these mask mandates is because Idaho had like fewer than 350 cases, compared to the rest of like the nation, that they were like especially Moscow was barely touched by COVID. And it felt too restrictive. It felt like it was taking away rights. They didn't agree with it. So they show up to do this psalm sing after there was an extension on the mask mandate. And Moscow was actually one of the only cities in Idaho to even enforce a mask mandate.
Okay.
So an extension happens to make the mask mandate go longer, and they decide, yeah, we're going to do this. So they show up. He said there is hundreds of people that show up. They do a prayer and like 3 songs. It lasts about 15 minutes, according to him. And towards the end of it, 3 arrests happen because people didn't stay on their dots.
No, what?
People decided not to stand exactly on their dots, and the police were standing there and decided they were going to make some arrests. So who got arrested? There was a married couple, the Bonet family, a husband and wife that got arrested, and also Gabe Wrench, who was the Republican representative that was running for county commissioner at that time in 2020. He was arrested as well. So, After that happened, which there's a federal lawsuit that has been filed against them because of that arrest.
Against the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think maybe the government, like the local government too.
Okay.
But yeah, there's been a federal lawsuit filed against them for this, but they dropped the charges because they realized, basically, once they were going to prosecute this, that it was not illegal for them to do this, because within their own city ordinance with the mask mandate, religious organizations and political organizations, like when they, like a protest, like anybody meeting to gather because of religious purposes or political ones, were exempt. So the charges were dropped. Well, after this, Doug Wilson's son has stickers made.
Okay.
And they were these stickers in questions, the sickle and the hammer, basically calling Moscow, calling them out for being thin-skinned. And in his interview, he said, how did they react? By being thin-skinned.
Yeah.
Because he said, basically, one night, his grandsons were out, allegedly disseminating these stickers, posting them up on poles all over town. And within Moscow, which it's a 1950s law, okay, that was passed in the 1950s, that stickers are only not allowed on poles in town if they are for like a political campaign or advertising, trying to sell a product. Other than that, they're allowed.
It sounds like they're getting so granular, like over stickers.
Yeah, so that night, the police stopped the boys, and one of his grandsons is handcuffed and put on a sidewalk, and they are interrogated, but they call his son, whose name is Nate Wilson, and he comes and picks his boys up, and they're let go. Well, a week later, they are served and told they will be prosecuted for this.
Jeez.
Yeah, crazy, I know. So they get served. He said he didn't think the cops would have even expected this to be prosecuted. But they are charged with 13 counts each of stickering that carry a sentence of 6 months each, meaning they were facing 6 years for putting up stickers around town. And he said this is the first and only case that has ever been prosecuted for this offense, ever, since the inception of the law. It has never been used once.
What?
And he said there's stickers all over the poles in Moscow. It's a college town. Yeah. This is a very normal thing to do.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they face those charges, and they also arrest his son for printing the stickers in the first place. What?
Yeah, like it...
Printing stickers?
Conspiracy to...
No, printing stickers. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. He also talks about how they declined to turn over, so they go through this big legal battle, essentially. And I don't want to get down in the nitty-gritty of every bit of it, because I have a lot more to cover here than just Stickergate, to be honest. Because Doug Wilson's church is up for question at this point. I've seen several content creators, including Harsh Reality, talking about Doug Wilson and the messages he preaches. There is rumors that it's kind of culty, the way they run their church and everything. So, I don't want to make any accusations here. Really, I'm just presenting the evidence that I have found, and you guys form your own opinions. I'm not here to tell you what to think about any of it, because they could all be super great people that have nothing to do with anything at all. I have no idea if there's any connection to the Idaho 4 case. The only thing I do know that Stickergate in particular proves is that there's this kind of authoritarian climate.
Okay.
Is what I feel like.
I mean, we could see it in the body cam footage that we've watched. Surprisingly, this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it's also really interesting that who is present in that body cam footage, which we will get to in a moment. But I have an interview here, which is on KTVB, about it's not about Stickergate, it is about the protest that started Stickergate. And it has Gabe Wrench, who his brother actually is part of Stickergate. He, along with Nate Wilson, got these stickers made. Okay. But it has an interview, and, you know, they said that their church holds things like this a lot. Yet, Chief Fry told the news here that, no, they've never done this before. This church has never done this before. Yet, the church is claiming that they have done this lots of times in the past. So, I mean, I don't know what the truth is, honestly, but it shows the video of, like, the arrests and everything, then it shows Gabe Wrench talking about it, and I have to be honest, his arguments about the mask mandates and all of that, and, you know, his rights, and, like, saying that police don't have the right to make him wear a seatbelt or a condom or a mask. I was like, oh, okay.
So it's pretty political.
It's very political, and I don't want to get into the politics of it. Yep. I really don't. It's kind of hard not to even mention it, though, because this church, these leaders of this church are highly political. Doug Wilson is highly political. You know, he very much believes in his religious rights. He is very much like a right-leaning conservative who's like anti-abortion and other things. On his website, he has a whole page about his controversies, which I found interesting to read through. Because there's some interesting controversies on there. And, you know, I'd be curious to see where those controversies originated, what his original statements were to make people believe he believed some of these things. Because some of it is very outrageous, you know? But Harsh Reality actually did a video on Doug Wilson recently. I hoped these pictures had transferred to my computer, but they did not, so I have to pull them up real quick on my phone. But in these pictures, Harsh Reality's referencing a Twitter account who seems to have been following, you know, Doug Wilson and his wife. You know, things that they've said online and stuff, because Doug Wilson's very much online. Like, he has his own YouTube channel, Twitter and Facebook accounts, and he posts things very regularly. So this post shows Nancy Wilson, his wife, describing how she spanked a toddler for not being happy to see her. A 3 to 4-year-old, she spanked them for not being happy to see her.
Whoa.
This is a quote from Doug Wilson that Harsh pointed out. "Burn all schools, hang all the teachers." Doug Wilson, controversial self-appointed pastor in Moscow, Idaho, in his blog post, No Quarter November, October 30th, 2023. It's an interesting post on his blog. Yeah, burn all schools. So he said that there was nothing wrong with our current education establishment that could not be fixed by burning all the schools and hanging all the teachers. Now, some might want to dismiss this as an extreme measure, but visionaries are often dismissed in their own day. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
Okay.
Yeah, here's another quote from Doug Wilson. "Discipline must be painful. The tenderness of parents, particularly of mothers, is a common point of stumbling. This tenderness, which refuses to discipline, is a kindness which kills. God has required us to inflict pain on those who are dear to us."
That's scary. And it sounds very, what's her face? I'm drawing a blank right now. The therapist that tied up the kids.
Oh, Jody. Hildebrand.
Jody Hildebrand. That sounds very Jody Hildebrand.
You're absolutely correct. It does. So here's a post, and this is the Twitter account that Harsh is referencing, Jenny Cohn. It says, about Doug Wilson's influence in the town of Moscow, Idaho. If you think you are safe from the theoretical assault on America because you believe you live in a blue city, you may want to take a look at what Doug Wilson is doing in Moscow, Idaho. And this is the post that it's a screenshot. It says, a Guardian investigation has revealed that a controversial church whose leader has openly expressed the ambition of creating a theocracy in America has accumulated significant influence in the city of Moscow, Idaho. Christ Church has a stated goal to make Moscow a Christian town, and public records, interviews, and open source materials online show how its leadership has extended its power and activities in the town. So here's one thing I want to say. Stickergate shows they don't have any influence over law enforcement unless it's with very specific people. So clearly the town government does not support that church, or else they wouldn't have had Stickergate and the protests happen.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
They're still fighting it. Like, so they have a web... They have...
To this day?
Oh, yeah.
Like, the town hasn't given in?
Look, this is
Dude,
basically... This is basically a give, send... It's like a GoFundMe, and it's called Give, Send, Go. And .com, and they have a fund on here created by Heather Wilson, which is a relative clearly of Doug Wilson. Their goal is $100,000.
They've raised $52,000?
And they've raised $52,000.
In a church that a town has 5,000 people or less?
This describes the situation of Stickergate, and there are regular updates. The most recent one is June 8th, 2023. And it is an update about, it says, the occasional update on our family's ongoing legal saga. To get right to the point, we recently lost our second criminal round and have begun the process of appealing to the Idaho Supreme Court. The ISC could take the case up themselves and send us to the Court of Appeals. Either way, the war of attrition continues. But we truly do not want to live under a government that reserves the right to selectively arrest and prosecute citizens for protesting their illegal behavior. And so we are unwilling to retreat from the field unless God requires us to. In encouraging news, the city of Moscow was recently forced to settle in the lawsuit regarding their illegal psalm sing arrests. Hopefully that will will help wisdom grow among local, low-level politicians everywhere. So the federal lawsuit filed against them for the 3 arrests at the psalm sing have been settled. But other than that, Stickergate is ongoing. They are trying to appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court. And there's many updates prior to this on here. I also have Doug Wilson's blog where he talks about it a lot. But I'm pretty much done going into Stickergate, to be honest. There's not much more there other than proving issues within the police department that they would be, as he put it, so thin-skinned that people can't put up stickers criticizing them. That is some Orwellian Soviet Union Russia type stuff. You literally just proved their stickers as accurate.
Yeah, that's really funny that church did that, though. Basically called them all communists.
Yeah. Fascists, I think, is more the point.
Yeah. Just Russia during that time was...
It was fascist.
The Soviet Union. I think wasn't it communist Russia?
Yeah, but Stalin was a fascist.
Right. A fascist leader.
Communist.
Yeah.
Which, is very similar to Hitler.
Yeah.
So, just saying. Okay, but now where's the connections here? So we have these accusations of it being a cult type thing. It's highly political. It's highly religious, more of that extremist,
scary
right-wing religion thing.
Scary religion. I wouldn't even say right-wing. I just, that's terrorist religion.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Not right-wing religion is like Christianity, your basic Christianity, and that's great. Like,
not necessarily.
I love people to, be that Southern Christian.
There's lots of Democrats and left wing that are Christian.
That Southern Christian belief system, and I fight for those people to have those beliefs, and that's not dangerous. That's just that right wing Christian homestead idea, that the Republican Party keeps up. So I don't want to offend those people by associating them with this.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
This is religious terrorism.
Yeah, there's on every side, there's always going to be somebody that's going to take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is extreme. So I think Stickergate is messed up. I think the characters behind Stickergate also have their own problems. So one officer that has been speculated about online a lot is Officer Nathaniel Rosendahl.
Yeah.
I found that he grew up within this church and logo school that was created by Doug Wilson.
No way.
Yes. And I have confirmed this over and over and over again. Like, I know it for a fact. This is not questionable. So Logo School releases a newsletter, and they've been doing it since like the early 2000s. Here, let me pull it up real quick. Where's the Logo School thing? It's early 2000s. But anyway, I have some screenshots here proving all of it. But anyway, so Nathaniel Rosendahl, apparently his family's originally from Indiana. They moved to Moscow. And the first that I see of them being a part of this is in their Logos like school letter that they release. It seems like on a season by season basis.
Okay.
And the first Rosendahl name I saw was Josiah, which is his brother. And I found all their Facebook accounts. I connected. I'm not going to show those, okay? I'm not going to show any of those, but I confirmed it because there's family photos.
Okay.
It is a fact. And then I found Rosendahl's senior quote. And I compared it with pictures of him, and I also found family pictures of all of them. But I found his senior quote in the news thing, like in their little magazine. And here's Nathaniel Rosendahl. I found pictures of him playing lacrosse for the school. And I also found a blog post from a local guy who, and I'm not going to mention his blog, but he also talks about like Nathaniel Rosendahl like crashing his bike into a tree and stuff. And like, so he's very much a local. But why I bring this up is I think it's really interesting. And by the way, they continue to be a part of this church. I don't know about Nathaniel himself, but his sister graduated in 2019 from this school. Nathaniel graduated in 2013. His brother graduated in I think 2011 or something like that.
Okay.
So like they continued to be a part of it for many, many years. So, I just find it really interesting to find a link that he grew up within this church that people are bringing to question so much.
Yeah, a weird connection.
Because
there's some flawed ideas within that church. A lot of those things that are said, look, I don't think most Christians would hear that and be like, oh, yeah, that sounds just like something we want. No, those are crazy ideas. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
The sticker thing, that's funny, okay? That's really funny. But stickers don't harm anybody. It doesn't hurt anything. Dude, what the police should have done is, sure, put those boys in cuffs, gave them a couple razor blades, and said, go take all of them off. Then you can go home and get out of here. Come on. You know what I mean? That's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So I did want to mention one of his brother's quotes was in his senior year was interesting to me because I'm really just I think it's when you're looking at anything it's interesting to look at the belief system. Okay. It says at the end of his statement for, it's like a senior quote, that's usually in a yearbook. But it says, you need to be your own man and keep pushing it. Following cool people around won't make you cool. Be a leader. Interesting, right?
Okay.
And,
cool people.
Yeah, cool people. And here's a picture of like how Logos School advertises themselves. It's on 110 Baker Street, Moscow, Idaho. Logos School is a charter member of the Association of Classical Christian Schools. It talks about the Logos Times, published 4 times a year for the families and friends of Logos School. I don't know. They have like, do you know like the schools that they would send women to teach them like how to eat with the right forks?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
They make all
like
of
preparatory schools.
Yeah. They literally do that to all of their students.
Oh.
Teach them manners.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little strange.
Okay.
It's a little strange.
Yeah.
And then they have like this big dinner event where they like, I don't know, show off how mannerly. I just made up that word. How good their manners are, and they dress up all fancy.
So why are so many people so bought in that this church has some weird connection with this crime? Did anything like that come up?
So,
because I've heard this church get brought up a lot, but I've never seen like concrete evidence come blaring out at me to where I needed to actually look into it. And I've heard of Stickergate a lot. I didn't know Stickergate had anything to do with this church.
Yeah, it has everything to do with this church. It is literally like
the reason.
This church is the reason it happened. Like the founder of this church or the minister of this church, it's because he's a highly controversial leader. He's said a lot of things that are offensive to a lot of people. And I mean, a lot of churches have schools. So it's not like I see an issue in a church having a school.
No, of course not.
It just seems...
Their teachings seem
a little bit odd.
Outdated.
Now, there are some really enriching things that they offer that I think are actually kind of cool. But, and it seems like if you have a big community of family and, you know what I mean? Because church community becomes like family. It might be a really enjoyable place to, like, grow up.
Yeah, maybe.
But the ideas that are being taught there are very like traditional, which I'm not saying anything's wrong with traditional. It's just Doug Wilson, some of the things he says are so extreme. Like he clearly believes in corporal punishment. And, like that whole thing about doing harm. And
he said that all teachers should get hung. Look, I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care how old and original and classic your Christian beliefs are. There is nothing out there in the world where all of our teachers should be hung.
Right.
That explains it all.
No, you're right.
That's psychotic.
You're right. Yeah.
So is he really psychotic, or is he just trying to get clout, Mm-hmm. Get some attention. For those of you that might not know what clout means.
Yeah. But yeah, if you go to the school's website, there's a ton of information on what their purpose is, what their journey is. I just thought it was super interesting that Rosendahl was connected to this church that people have called into question. I don't know why people have drawn a direct connection between this church and the crimes, other than I did hear Harsh talking about, like, maybe these type of girls, like whoever did this crime had ideas like this, and so they had, that was the motive, that they had a lot of hate for maybe like these type of girls.
Yeah.
Maybe. I've always had question marks surrounding Rosendahl. I've always had question marks. I felt like his behavior in the body cam footage was
strange.
Very strange.
Yep.
Very, very strange. I felt that it was very authoritarian. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes sense where he came from.
Yep. I agree with that.
So, I also found out he's prior military, too. And we have heard rumors that the police force in Moscow, which we know Payne is prior military too, that they pretty much exclusively only hire prior military for their law enforcement.
Strange, but okay.
But yeah, these are just like tidbits of information. I hope to show some screenshots. I don't want to straight up out like a bunch of family or anything. This is public information that they post online, for anybody and everybody to find and see. But it's, we haven't heard much about Rosendahl, and there's huge question marks surrounding him. He was out in the Banfield that night. Some of his behavior in the body cam footage is questionable. Like taking pictures of Kaylee's ID, saying they knocked on the door when they didn't, going straight to the back door to look in their house.
Yeah.
Like they're talking about how there's no stairs to the balcony. The way they treated the students in the body cam footage and were bullies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got big question marks. So I found it interesting to find a connection there.
Yeah.
And if it's...
No, I think it's good.
If it's nothing, then it's nothing. But I wanted to share it regardless, and hear your feedback.
Yeah, I think it's good. I learned a lot. I didn't know that, and I have been curious about Stickergate. So yeah, it's good. Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah.